asked Josh Boschee to come in. He's the minority leader in the North Dakota House, and the check and the balance. That's what he is. He's the check and the balance. He's the one not afraid to point out when someone from the majority party, and yes, it's the Republicans that are investing in Russia, when it is them that is doing something wrong, somebody has to come forward and say, no. Representative Boschee, good to have you on News and Views.
Joel, good to be here as always. Happy Monday.
What in the heck what were they thinking of?
Well, on technicality, what happens with these funds is, we hire money managers, or I should say the State Investment Board hires money managers who go out and buy funds that have to perform at a certain level. And that's where this Russian money is. It's within a specific fund. So now we know that there is what I would call dirty money sitting in these funds. And so now we have to get it out. But the problem is, in the last legislative session, Senator Unruh up from Coal Country got a bill passed by the Republican supermajority that says we can't tell our money managers to move funds based on social issues, because they wanted to protect against green energy, us investing in green energy. And so again, another example of my GOP colleagues micromanaging another board, being able to do the work they need to do, because we know overwhelmingly over the weekend that people are frustrated. Why is our money sitting over in Russia right now, supporting an this authoritarian war? So
this is the same Unruh that her own party just chose somebody else to run over her, right?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because she wasn't supposedly conservative enough for them, which really there's a whole nother point there that we got to get to as well. But get it back.
Right.
I want the money back. I don't want the money funding Vladimir Putin. I don't want, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care who we hired, fire them. I mean, if that's their attitude that, we got to perform at a certain rate and this is where we go and we take, I want my money back.
Sure. And we think we found a way to be able to get that back. We have this small window of opportunity. Senator Kathy Hogan sits on the Legacy Fund Advisory Board, which former Senator Jim Dotzenrod sat on for a long time. And that group is actually looking right now, how can we do more in-state investing? And so there is a little bit of a workaround I think we can tap into to say, we want to pull that money out. We're going to invest that in North Dakota instead of in Russia or any of these other authoritarian states.
So right now, today, we could pull the money out of Russia.
I believe so.
What would it take?
If the State Investment Board got together with the Legacy Fund Advisory Board and they did these actions with the support of the RIO office, the Retirement Investment Office, to get the ball moving.
Governor Burgum, if you're listening, call him. Call him in. Say, get in your pickup, get to Bismarck, or I don't care if you do it by Zoom or whatever. Get it done. I don't want North Dakota money funding Russia. I don't, Josh.
Right. You and I think everyone else that we've seen on social media, and social media certainly is one prism, but people are upset. We are seeing, at a time this morning when supposedly, Vladimir Putin is sitting down with the president of Ukraine while they're still bombing schools over in Ukraine. It's supposed to be a peace talk right now, and they're still bombing. It's
a complete joke. Why in the world would we trust him?
Right.
What we had all of these people that say that President Biden was just, hollering wolf, that they're really not going to go in. And then we had a former president of the United States and Donald Trump say, well, this is brilliant. This is genius. Look, he just took back these two areas, didn't have to do anything militarily. They all want to be part of Russia. Oh, man. And yet the administration kept saying, no, he's going to attack Ukraine. You know what happened? He attacked Ukraine.
He did.
And what's he doing it with? He's got to have money to do it. And some of that's our money, Josh.
Right. Yeah, it's time for us to pull it out, bring that money back in. There's plenty of great projects going in North Dakota, whether it's township roads or startup companies. Long-term companies are looking to grow. We have that opportunity because of the other work that we did during this last session.
Did you as a legislature, and I always wonder I don't know that he did anything wrong. I don't know that. I want to preface this by saying that. But I also know that John Hoeven's a banker and that bank makes a lot of money. Okay. And I also know that in his time as United States Senator, he's done pretty doggone well with the bank and with himself. And I also know that John Hoeven, some years back here, spent the 4th of July, our nation's birthday, in Russia. Do we know what that was all about yet? Does Does his bank, has he been involved in working behind the scenes to make sure that the investment board, that this money goes over to Russia? I mean, is there a connection there that the public needs to know about?
Well, I think the public definitely needs to know what the senator was doing over there as our senator, of course, during the 4th of July, but it's been 4 years and it still sounds like radio silence. We don't know what was talked about. We don't know what conversations were had over there. And so exactly as you pull that string back, what does that mean for their personal wealth or the investments that they have made? There's a big conversation in Congress right now where we are trying to make sure that Congress can't do stock trades while they're sitting there and hearing about a pandemic 5 days before the public hears about it, and then goes and buys investment in Zoom and in Pfizer and all these other companies that are going to make billions of dollars. We need to have better transparency with our elected officials, whether it's at Congress, at the state level, or the local level. And unfortunately, Senator Hoeven hasn't been willing to talk about what he was doing over there.
Has your opposition leaders called for that money to come back? Have they come out and said, look, get the money back, get it back right now?
There hasn't been anything formal at this point because this all happened Friday. People have been looking, trying to get a hold of folks to get the facts. Now that we know the facts this morning, certainly those calls are coming out.
Has Governor Burgum called for that money to come back and said, look, as governor of the state of North Dakota, I'm going to do what I can. I want our money back.
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about us.
I was talking about Chet, and I was talking about Rich, too.
No, I've not heard anything, I haven't checked my state email in the last 10 minutes, so I don't know if there's a press release in there, but
I'm sitting here looking, and I'm not finding it. Yeah. That press release would have went out on Saturday if I was in charge. It would have been gone then.
Right.
Because it's like, look, this is the easiest decision. And if somebody says, well, you'll pay a penalty, I'll pay the penalty. North Dakota has invested our money in Russia. Russia attacked Ukraine. Number one, we shouldn't have done it in the beginning because Vladimir Putin has never been and never will be a friend to the U.S. He might be friends with certain individuals in the U.S., but he's never been a friend to the people of the United States of America. And so for our money to be there, it's wrong. It never should have made its way there, but it needs to come home. Josh, you as the minority party in the legislature, what steps are you going to take?
Well, first and foremost, we've already had people starting to call publicly for, the State Investment Board to do what they can, which is very limited at this point. But we have Senator Kathy Hogan on this Legacy Advisory Committee who, can help figure out how do we get some of this money back. And specifically, there's that little bit of a, for lack of a better word, I'll say loophole in the law that was passed in 2021 that would allow us to bring that money back in state. Again, for your listeners to remember, the supermajority Republicans passed a law that said that the State Investment Board can't ask for this money back based on social issues. And so it's that short-sightedness and the micromanaging of the GOP that we continue to see of state agencies and local government that is hamstringing us at a time to be nimble when we want to get that money back here.
I want to get to some of these text messages. It says, Joel, now this is what drives me nuts. And this is why I'm going to probably have the last check I write on God's earth bounce versus someone like this. I have no doubt that he's right when it comes to finance. I have no doubt that I'm right when it comes to the sheer morals of what's going on. He says now is the time to invest in the Russian economy. Stock and currency are on sale for pennies on the dollar. This too will pass. And I don't like punishing the Russian people for their unfair elected president. I don't care if we punish. The only way to change things in Russia is to get the people to a point where they realize the guy they've got being president. I don't want to invest 1 cent in Russia where he's buying 1 tank with that money, period, Josh. And I don't care if we lose a buck or two doing it.
Joel, look at what's happened in the last 72 hours in our world. The European Union, with President Biden at the table, has basically shut down the economy of the Russian economy. And that's the pressure that a dictator like Vladimir Putin needs. And I'm sorry that there is going to be suffering by the people of Russia, and we should do everything we can to minimize that. But at the same time, we need to get rid of Vladimir Putin. And we have not seen the world unified like this since, I wasn't alive in World War II. So, but that's what I'm hearing folks talk about is that, the unity that we are seeing in attacking this aggressor. And now we're seeing that these other Eastern Bloc states starting to step up and say, we want to join NATO now. Yeah. We want to be at the table. We want your protection and we want to be a partner.
It wasn't that long ago leaders in the US of A were talking about how NATO was obsolete, NATO wasn't worth anything, and they were undercutting NATO. Right now he lives in Mar-a-Lago, the guy that was doing everything he could to undermine NATO. And I would also point this out, that when you sit there and you look at decisions, policy decisions, when you stop funding to Ukraine until you get what you want out of it for political purposes, that's not foreign policy. That's aiding Russia. And this country did that too. There was an attempt made by the previous administration to stop money that was approved to go to Ukraine unless he got what he wanted politically. Period.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And all this is backing up on them. And this isn't, boy, hindsight for me. We were screaming this into the microphone then. We were pointing out who our friends were versus who our enemies are. But I'll get back to the reason I called you to come in here. The steps that need to be taken, just so the public knows who to call. So the very public, I know that Kathy, and there's a process. I want to know what they can do right now, who they need to call, what they need to do to get our money back out of Russia.
Well, first, it's the State Investment Board that manages us through the RIO office, Retirement Investment Office. And the governor has a seat on that as the chair, but he designates that to the Lieutenant Governor, Brent Sanford. So that's the office I'd encourage people to call. That is the person who can, the governor's office. You'll get either the governor or the lieutenant governor, but say you want a meeting called. You want to see them in action, starting to figure out their ways to bring this back to North Dakota. Or not even North Dakota, but to reinvest it into something that's morally going to make us the same amount of money or more. That's a caveat of it. But you can't tell me there's not other funds that exist that would be able to perform just the same way.
And I don't care if I got less percentage. This individual says, you know what? We're talking about now's the time to invest in Russia. What if they don't give you the money back? What if they go bankrupt and the next thing you know, you invested in a country that's hit the skids economically like you never would believe?
Yeah, good luck for Russia ever having anyone invest in them in the future then, too.
And good luck for Russia going into any other country and saying, let's do business.
Right.